Okay, 2015, Day 5, Part 2. Realising the error of his ways, Santa has switched to a better model of determining whether a string is naughty or nice. None of the old rules apply, as they are all clearly ridiculous. Now, a nice string is one with all of the following properties. It contains a pair of any two letters that appears at least twice in the string without overlapping, like XY or AAA in AAA, B, C, D, E, F, G, AA, but not like AAA, because it overlaps. And it contains at least one letter which repeats with exactly one letter between them, like X, Y, X, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, E, F, E, or even AAA. Okay. Right, so we've got a couple new checks to make, and for example, the first one here is nice because it has a pair and the letter repeats exactly after itself, the ZXZ. XXYXX is nice because it has a pair that appears twice and a letter that repeats with one between, even though the letters used by each rule overlap. So the rules can overlap, but not within the rule itself. And UURCXSTGMGTBSTG is naughty because it has a pair TG but no repeat with a single letter between them. And then IEODOMKAZUCVGMUY is naughty because it has a repeating letter with one between Odo, but no pair that appears twice. So how many strings are now nice with these new rules? Okay, so I think first point of call is to copy and paste these strings into our test function. Okay. Copy this one across, and this one over as well. Remove the old one, and we are expecting two nice and two naughty. So yep, result is still 2 in our test here. And our is nice check, we'll have to delete all of that and create a new set of checks. So I think the first thing we want to do is look at so let's do the it contains, let's do the mirror pairs first. Let's try that one first. Okay, so what I've got here, what I've done previously is look for repeating pairs with a letter in between. So if we do fn generate, let's call this generate, should we call it exactly what? Let's call it repeats then. Generate or a test for repeats. Sounds better. And what we're going to do is actually, let's generate repeats. So what we're going to use, so I've got is create a set of regex expressions here to look for the repeats of a letter with a letter in between. So this is going to be return a vec of regex expressions, and should be that. Oh, let's see if I can get that to import. Have I not it got regex? Maybe I need to cargo add regex. Okay, yep, just install now, installing regex. Now let's try and re-import that again. There we go. So yeah, we're going to create a vector of regexes. So let's say regs equals vec that we're going to test against. So set of vecs of regex, and we're going to use our nice for loop for say letter in a dot equals z So for each character from A to Z, we are going to create our new pattern. So pattern equals a format. Let's format a string. And we're going to create a regex. We don't need this format up at the top here. It's imported when I wrote there. So what we're doing is creating a pattern where we want any A to Z in the middle, and we can have then the letter on either side. So that's going to create the pattern that we're interested in. And what's it? At least one which repeats. Okay. And then we can do regs.push pattern. New regex. So regex new with our pattern. And we will need to make this mutable. We'll complete that and return regs. And we will need to also, give this a reference to the pattern. I think it's actually as an aster. Oh, I need as aster. Oh, yeah. We need to also unwrap it. There we go. So that's just to unwrap the regex in case it fails. And so we can then return our set of regular expressions are going to check for all the different combinations of like x, y, x, EFE as we have here. So then we can, in our is nice, let's get our let repeat RE is equal RE equals generate repeats, generate our regexes. And then we're going to want to run through each of those, see if there is a repeat in there. So let's do let repeat. It'll be a ball. Set it to false initially, and then we can go for R in repeat RE. We can then do if let's say let m equals re dot match r dot match is match. There we go. Yeah, so we wanted to do, is there a match for that regex in our string? So we just pass that s. We can do a reference to s. And we can then do if then repeat is also true. So we do have a repeat in there, and we can then break out of that loop. And we can then if repeat then is false, then we can return false and put true at the bottom here. So at the moment we're doing our check. Oh, this needs to be mutable because we're changing it in the loop. So we're going through each of our combinations of A to Z in the middle, accompanied by A or to Z on the outside. We're going to run for each of those, check if there's a match. If it is, we're going to set it as true. And at the end, we're going to check if it's false. If it's false, then we'll return false. If not, we'll return true. So we've passed that check. And then the next one is to look for pairs of strings. And we need to see if there's two pairs. So what we want to try, and these have no overlapping, so we need to also then let's say generate a series of regexes for the pairs of values, pairs of letters. So what we can do here, what have we got? XY. Yeah, so any two letters, right? Okay, generate pairs. So this is a vec of a string. Yes, I'm just double checking with my one. Yep, because I think we can just look for matches in this rather than using a regex. So we can do a vec of strings, which is going to be our different combinations of pairs, and then using our let's say for our first letter in A through to Z, and for B in then A through to Z. We can now create our string pairs. So let's have again a mutable vector for our pairs. So it's going to be our vec string that we're going to return. Initialize it. We're going to return it at the bottom here. And we're going to now then do pairs.push. Format. Oops. Format. And we're going to get A and B. So we're going. This should then create all the different combinations of A and B paired up, and then we're going to return that list to us. So we've done our first check here. We're going to pass through and check for any repeats. So as long as we've checked that, then we can then look for pairs. So let pairs equals generate pairs. We can bring that function in, and for pair in pairs iter, we can check now with matches for whether our string has any of those matches. So we can do just simple as matches, let's call it matches equals s dot matches on the pattern of pair. Okay, and then we can check now the number of those number of matches. So matches.count, that'll tell us how many of those pairs that we found in the string. If it's greater than 1, we're looking for 2 or more. I think at least any 2 letters at least twice. Yeah, so it's got to be greater than 1. We can say now we've got contains a pair, so that's valid as well. So actually we can then return true at this stage because we've passed the first check and we've got the pass on the second check. If we've reached the end of that loop, we can then return false because we haven't been able to identify any matches which have greater than 2 pairs. And I believe that's our part 2 complete. So just to quickly run through this before we test it, we have our solve function, which is the same as before. We're going to run through each of the lines and do our isNice check. In our isNice check, we are generating all the different combinations of repeats using our generate repeats function that runs through letters A to Z and is creating a regex where A to Z could be any A to Z in the middle against the same letter on either side. So we then go through all those regexes, identify if there's a match. If there is, then we say there is a repeating letter structure there, so we can say it's true. If not, it's false. If it is false by the end of that check, we can then return false because it's not included in the string. If so, we'll go into the next check, which is on pairs of letters. So we've got our generate pairs function here, again through A to Z, creating different combinations of pairs that we want to check against the string. So we create all the different pairs, we then run for each pairs, check for the matches within the string, and then count how many matches we've identified. And if it's greater than 1, then we can return true, because we've also already passed the first test and now we're passing the second one. If we've gone through that entire for loop and haven't found matching pairs that's greater than 1, we will return false. So I believe that is all we need to do. Let's do cargo test first to see if our function runs on our set of test strings. It's just and yes, it has returned okay, so feeling fairly confident that we'll be able to pass the puzzle now. So let's do cargo run, pass it through our puzzle.txt, which is the same as the previous part. Let that run through. I think it might be taking a bit of time because of the number of duplications here. We could simplify this, making these potentially lazy statics, so we don't have to recreate them every time we're checking for an is nice string. And we got a return of 51. Right, so let's see if that was our correct answer. And yes, great. So that's was it day 5, part 2 done, the year 2015. So thanks for watching, and let's get on to the next day's problem. See you in the next one.